The photographer, the reporter, flew to the megalomaniac. He opened his mouth when the sword came. When he thought that this hit is unexpected, the monster bit the sword again. In a gentle way, it makes the photographer stupid and terrified. Seconds later, the fighter hits the ground. And then it screamed with a loud noise, and it scattered the rocks. Hurry up and use the shield. Suddenly, he was shot away in the smoke. It's accompanied by the giant catapult Theo. He reached out and caught him. In this critical situation, then the spirit of the soul. Let's have a taste of this. Use the soul power to thoroughly investigate. In the blink of an eye, the photographer immediately realized in the head of a small fighter. The soul's hemispherical force covers its head. It's like a protective ring. The main weakness of the company is definitely at the top. Animal lovers can also form love spirits. It's a luxury. Immediately use your soul to attack. I was surprised by a fire. It's as if it's been sprayed with hard glue. He jumped out of hand at the chance and landed on the ground in the smoke. He's aesthetic. From the moment it doesn't notice using its soul to attack it. This kind of level of interest, earned in the blink of an eye, can be clean and fast. When this megalomaniac wakes up, he holds his head in the smoke. He saw the shadow of the photographer walking away. Then immediately speed up. It was quickly closing in on the regent. It surprised him too. When we caught up, you have to think quickly how to cut it off. And so he ran around. Make the blood-crazed megalomaniac scream. It feels like it's burning to get angry. He punched the tree and screamed for an hour. And then it goes on and on. He ran to catch his breath and was still under pressure. Secretly irritated to think, I can't believe I also have a day when I am in love. Chasing like this. Suddenly, the juniors approach the top and throw a punch down a snail. I thought that, photography this time, it's hard to get through with this bright light. Fortunately, he has memories of his past life. To be intelligent with keen intuition. It saved him many times. Suddenly he thought, but it's getting more and more dangerous. I don't know if I can get through this door. Surprise, he tossed and reached for the Leo rope in front of him. Then turn on the jumper, in front of the observer's eyes. He saw that and threw a punch, but with great skill and a flexible body. The photographer turned on the dodge, but he doesn't seem to be feeling well right now. Your Majesty, you lose weight too quickly when you're nervous. Then suddenly, he saw the shadow pass by. Immediately realized it's not the Dark Society or SAO. Those people are coming together. The leader said there's always the sound of a demon. Those people must be around. Just withdrew, then he saw the photographer dancing. In front of my eyes, the photographer is also stunned by the dark aesthetic. Why are they here? Then the cultural name points to the hand ordering to capture it. He laughed and said, but I have a gift for you. So he took out the fog. The spindle is ready to create fog. Immediately, the booms burst out bright. It was accompanied by a thick fog. Make the cloak scream with terror. What kind of distortion is this? As the smoke spreads out, the shadow of the shadow appeared above them. I'm looking left right now. Looking forward. When the smoke is out, I saw a group of people standing there. It's screaming like crazy. The chemist saw that and hurriedly withdrew the sword, and ordered his subordinates to deal with it first. And so they crashed into each other, creating a chaotic battle. The photographer is in a corner watching the game. He laughed and shouted, "For you. Make the culture a pungent scum." But he was immediately punched down by the fighter. Fortunately, he managed to get away. At this time, the photographer hurriedly ran away. He shouted at his subordinates to deal with the megalomaniac. That kid's name. It must be one of the noble children. They're nearby. If you can run for a while. Then suddenly, there was a rustling sound in the nearby trees. It startled him, and he realized it was a dead man. "I'm in a hurry to ask her why you're here." "I'm not saying people are ahead of SAO. I told him I saw a loud noise here. I was afraid you were in trouble, so I came to help you." Hearing this makes the photographer feel very touched. Then he thought of her image from his previous life. Always walk up to him thinking he's the same. But I'm no longer a weak photographer. In a previous life. And then he thought, the hand of death. Then say, the men of the Dark Guild are fighting the megalomaniac. They must be sent here soon. Let's hurry. He said. He grabbed her hand and pulled it away. Make the red face shy. My heart throbbing fast aesthetic myself. I've never held a boy's hand before. If you are pregnant with mom. A few hours later, the sky changed. In the dark, the weak LAN people are walking around in the forest. She's full of anxiety thinking, it's getting dark. I haven't seen you yet. I blame myself emotionally. It's because we should leave. Don't be a photographer. Meanwhile, the photographer, I'm sweating all over here. Take a quick breath to think that there is no smell of love. Why is there still a sense of insecurity? It's getting dark, and it's getting dark. Let's camp. Suddenly, he was stupid and said wait. Pointing hands forward, timidly said, there seems to be something there. The photographer hurriedly looked there and said, there seems to be some kind of architecture. The dead man came forward to say, let me take a look. Make him panic. Be careful. In the moon's dim light, two people stick their heads out and stare. They're both watching a beer. I have no idea what is written above. It is a sign of the Holy Empire. Right up here, those who respect me will be respected. The traitor must die. The air is so big. I was surprised to ask the photographer, since when did you learn the script of the Holy Empire? But this question makes it difficult for him to answer. It makes my lips burn if I don't want to talk. Turn your back and tell us to go and see these ruins. And suddenly, she was screaming, and the photographer shot her. Who suddenly, the ground beneath the veil collapsed. A landslide that's going strong. Follow the rocks down the rumbling. See that, the police are in a hurry to get it. Death and so on. Quickly, his hand caught her hand. Then hastily put your hands around your waist to protect your body. Both of them immediately fell freely down below. In a critical situation, she said, hold on tight. In his hand appeared a sword. It's plugged into the cliff to make a point. Because of the weight of both, it's absolutely impossible to stop this falling force. The sword was thrown out of the photographer's hand. It made him suddenly say, you're heavy. Sorry to hear that, but ask what you just said. But he stupidly said nothing. quickly put out his hand to emit spider silk. It clings to the cliff. And then they both swayed quickly on the rope. The photographer was surprised to say, "Turns out, it's ice." Death breathed a sigh of relief, then looked around and asked the photographer, "Where is this?" But he said, "I don't know. Look at the current situation and talk. See, Ra can't climb up. Also sewing silk long enough. There's only one way to slow down." The two are now standing close to each other with 4 eyes. The distance is so close that it's scary. Immediately speak up. Don't move me down first. Made the rope wobble that made the photographer scream in panic. Don't shake him. Let go. Falling down to the dead. His hands quickly hugged her waist. It's filled with terror. The broken hand of the photographer is hugging her budding pear of grapefruit. I want to scream at the photographer. If you dare to move around, I'll risk my life with you. We'll fall there together. Smiling photographer. Haha, okay, I won't move. We're slowly going down there. So we both landed very gently. The photographer snapped out a torch to light the way. He was surprised by this deep cave. And on the one hand, they're still learning about it. In the dark with the light, thanks to the torch. When the photographer looks at the corpse, he says, "You're really beautiful." But the cold shoulder goes to find the way. Otherwise, we can't get out. I can't help but agree with this. They both look for the way. For a moment, the photographer realized, it's like we're falling into a maze. There are many ways here. Suddenly, the photographer saw something written on the wall. Read up, is not Min and Lin deposited the department? He was surprised to say, this is the tomb of the undead. Of the Holy Empire. The photographer explained, not the emperor. He is the most mysterious king. The history of the Holy Empire. In Middle Age, he left the Holy Empire. The legend at the time said that he trained to the world. It's amazing to everyone. He is an immortal. I can't believe he's buried in the old city of Lan. I heard that question. There are people who can practice to the point of immortality. Smiling softly, of course not. This is just a legend. Even if you practice to the world of legends, they can only live for 200 to 300 years. I can't escape in the end. The wheel of heaven. Hearing this makes you silent. Go to the photographer. What is the world above the legend? He said, you'll know later. This is probably a labyrinth. There may also be some trap like organs. Be careful. Wherever I go, you have to step in the right place. Death also nodded softly, thinking. The photographer knows. Hands up, there can be many paths. Which way should we go? The photographer said very simply, go north. In the direction of the emperor. His tomb must have been built in the north-south. It's the north side of the maze. I am full of questions about why. Because his grave must be in the north. He said that's what. It's written in the Encyclopedia of Destiny of the Holy Empire. In every way, there's a kind of reciprocity. Including where the grave was built. The people of the Holy Empire believed in this. When you hear it, you just think silly. Encyclopedia of Destiny of the Holy Empire. How many books has the photographer read? Then she asked, which side is north? We're at the bottom. It can be distinguished. He touched the wall and said the Holy Father lacquered. Is to go from south to north. See the flowers on the rocks. It's easy to tell which way to go this way. Death Van is also silent at this time, according to the American Regent. The little princess of the VI city. She is the granddaughter of the master of magic. I've seen it from small to large in countless books. There is a little pride in me, but it's a little inferior to photography. Suddenly, there was a noise in front. The police officer said stop. He immediately took a stone raw threw forward. Suddenly, an organ appeared. The arrows shot all over the place. Threatened her with no blood left. Her face then like a bewildered golden deer. The photographer said calmly, "Hierarchical institutions like this don't make it difficult." He looked at the arrows on the cliff, then turned to say, "Death is good. We can go." On the side of the dark, the guild now, the leader shouted furiously, "That's a bunch of wreckage, 6 people injured." They even made the little ones run away. Love is worth $100,000. And DTO, the most hated thing is the kid. Let the animals come here. He continued to say the same thing seriously. It's just a little silver-level megalomaniac. It is determined to be more. He turned and ordered his men to find me. If you can't catch them, don't go back. The officers received clear orders, then immediately launched into action. While on the road, a surprised man saw a flash of light. I realized someone. Hurry up and tell the other guys to go there. Someone immediately yelled at me what to do. Who are you? But then I laughed. This gentleman, you must have heard of the Dark One. Is the conference over? We want to catch the children of the world. Like you, he laughed. He told me to marry you and exchange it for money, or cut you to death. Hearing that, the Vietnamese appalled. I'm sweating. Please don't kill me. I am a man of the gods. My family will pay me a lot of money. I heard the name of God. It's amazing. He sighed coldly, thinking he had a bargain. Who is it? The vice president's family said. The staff kept it. Someone stays and looks after it. Others go looking for more. The officer immediately received orders to leave, to make Shen Viet breathe a sigh of relief. I think they also respect the gods of the world. Then he crossed his arms and lifted the cold edge of the photographer. I don't know how long it's been. Death and death finally see the way out. He took the torch to the door. It's amazing. In front of you are the bodies, lying on the ground. Look at the skeletons in dead poses. The skull is sprawled. It also makes the photographer happy. With this scene, it makes Death unable to hold back tears, and she asked me why. What's going on? I firmly believe in this palace, used by the people of the ancient city of Lan as a place of refuge. They brought all the kids and old people here. I want to wait until the war is over. I suspect ancient Lan into danger. He said with a deep face, they're locked up here and buried alive. It makes Death stop, to look with tragic eyes. The photographer thought the old city was like this. Who was brought here? It would be hard to escape this end. He unconsciously gripped, determined to think about this. I can't let it happen again. He turned to say, let's go. But he shook his head and said he couldn't. We can't go. More. We've got to get all these treasures out. These treasures can strengthen us. In this way, the city of Quang Wei Kai. If not, Quang Wei Kai City will become the second Lan city. Death was a little surprised. A second later, I decided to think right. We have to pay whatever it takes. Even though this is disrespectful to the dead. but because of Kwangwi Kai City and Kier beings. Excuse me, gentlemen. You two go looking. I found out there's a set of armor bars. There is also medicine. But afraid of overdue use, cannot eat. Surprised the next second, they found a piece of spirit stone on a dry corpse. The dead man clasped his hands in prayer. Then take the spirit stone. Lingzi for the cultivation speed of so many fake powers. Very important. We really need it. Sorry, pray. Your soul is at ease. The photographer also picked up a lot of weapons. More than 10 pieces in total. In addition, there are other spiritual documents. There is also a silver lining outside. The harvest is not small, but something doesn't seem right. He looked at the coffin above. I think it's the stone coffin. After thinking about it, he went up the stairs to get there. I saw a strange man. You look familiar, as if you've met somewhere. He reached out his hand. Suddenly, a power of the soul comes forth. Quickly, he sees a powerful vortex. It seems like we can get him in there. Makes the photographer gaping with wonder. Standing next to the stone, it feels like standing in the sea. It can always be swept away. Suddenly, he came closer to ask the photographer. Then suddenly, she trembled and screamed. The photographer was surprised to come back and ask, "What are you doing?" Death immediately back up. He said, "I just got close to it. But feel the headache as if to crack raw." Think photographer. This must be the prohibition of some fake authority. I don't want AI to get close to the meteorite, but why can I get close? And then he died. Let's go look somewhere else. She also nods in agreement. Steeped in this ancient coffin. Found on the meteorite covered in mysterious flowers. I've never met before. This is the meteorite of the great Emperor Wu Ming. But SAO text. It's not like the imperial era. The face above also radiates soul power. It's because that fake power saved SAO. He's asking a lot of questions about why. Suddenly, in my head, a shock came out. The power of the spirit is strong. The blue power rose, and he was terrified. Deep inside my soul, there's something touch. It makes my soul boil. What is this meteorite after all? He put his hand on it. Then immediately, a bright light flared up. The soul's power exploded. It also makes the people next to me confused. The doctor is screaming in pain right now. The luminous force that emits him. See that? Worried, I asked the photographer what the place was. She's leaving. When you get there, suddenly, the power shines out. Make it impossible for her to get close. On the contrary, it was hit by that power. Death is not in time, but was knocked out of the way and fell a painful beam. Clothes on people. That's why I'm tattered and lying in the sky. The blood is screaming. It is not finished, my lord. My soul is seriously injured. It's only a few rays of external influence that are so powerful. So the photographer in the middle is not dead. She's full of worries. Let him take his hand to the pillar of despair. At this time, the body evaporates. He's gritting his teeth, grinding his teeth. My whole body is sweating. He opened his mouth thinking he was thirsty. It feels like the water in your body is about to evaporate. Soon after that, the power continues to surge. It was accompanied by a thunderous explosion. High soul is under attack. If you lose consciousness this time, it has to be done here. Suddenly, his sea soul gradually blossomed. He's very resistant. It is amazing that the soul of the sea is now. It's absorbing this light. What is it, after all? But his sea soul. It's also expanding. But a second later, the glass is ignored. If we could absorb this light, just absorb it. A rumbling sound came out. Quickly, that terrible light source. It is absorbed into the soul of the sea. And immediately, that light began to fade away. My body broke down, and my sweat flowed like a stream. Not enough time to rest. Then the soul force in the body continues to expand. Want to erupt out to amaze the photographer. He screams, generate resources. After absorbing the white light, Hai's spirit of regency expanded to a few more parts. The soul is too strong. That makes the photographer's body look like it's been changed. Then the body evaporates. I can't stand him 6 loads of stuff. Take out some water bottles and fill your body. He was filled with the energy of joy. Suddenly, I heard a noise. Looking back, the sarcophagus gradually opened. He's a fool to come and see. It's missing when there's nothing inside. Hurry with hands. If you rub your eyes again, you can't see anything. But suddenly, he bends down and disappears. Surprise! I saw a piece of paper and a necklace. Stupid as a tree thinks. It's not wrong. This is the end of the time when I didn't love Reishi. My previous life was thanks to this book. That has tremendous power. But it's been ripped off the last 8 pages. I've never understood a sentence before. And I couldn't find those 8 pages of lost ruins. I will be born, and there are new things that appear in the spirit of the sea. It may also have something to do with the time of not loving Ganoderma. I don't know how one more page will change. Suddenly, he was amazed when you realize this is one of the pages I lost in my previous life. Then, I have come to the end of the endless desert. Into the depths of the desert. I have a book called Time Without Love. I don't know if this life is like that. Suddenly, he reached out to touch his chest. Feel the ocean's soul start to rise. It can also strengthen the soul. He quickly put it in his pocket. And then hold up the necklace and say, "This is deep. This is a rare item. This ring can increase the speed of cultivation by 3 times. Laughing and thinking high, this is for death." And then look back puzzled. What does this stone coffin mean? Because the destruction of the time without love spirit is here. Where is the body of the emperor? And he stepped back and exclaimed the labyrinth of insects. Then ask yourself if you have discovered anything. It's silly not to see her. Suddenly he panicked when I saw her body laying flat on the ground. I looked at my tattered clothes, white flesh. Make the photographer nervous call out loud. She rushed to her side to check. It's a good thing it's just a coma. I look at the wounds on you and think, these burns are caused by white light. If you say that, you will die for saving yourself. That's why it was attacked by that stone coffin. She was afraid that her spirit would be attacked. He took the necklace. Just got it on her neck. Immediately, the line comes into play. It emits a light that causes her wounds. He quickly recovered. Photographer took out the medicine bottle, said, "Fortunately, I have prepared the medicine." I thought, "I'm sorry. Your wounds need to be treated. It's impossible not to desecrate." He gave his hand. "Take off your scorched clothes. Get out of the dead." And then flatly throw it on the ground. His body was quickly healed by him. "It's okay. The skin wound has been treated." I want to quickly put this on you. Then he looked at the face of death. This is probably not good anymore. There is deep 2 Bao Ji and 9 transfer tape emperor. Will quickly restore internal injury, and then tell yourself to get that missing page. Training in time will be better. Sit down and get lucky. He feels it, in the depths of the soul. There seems to be the power of white light. It's not absorbed yet. But my soul's power, it's probably over 150 now. If there's a chance to go to the endless desert, I will definitely get a non-magical time book. He's just emitting the gas that's flaming. The light is shining all over this place. And that's why death is here. When she woke up, she opened her eyes. When I see the picture in front of me, the photographer is still alive, but sitting in deep cultivation. I thought he seemed to have healed me. But wait a minute. Why don't I have a cover like this? She's full of confusion. I don't know what happened while I was in a coma. At the same time, the photographer opened his eyes. I saw the dead wake up. Happy to sit up and ask if you are awake. The red-faced man shouted, "Don't come over here. Turn your face away. I want to change clothes." He agreed and turned his back. But the photographer didn't forget the good stuff. Not without seeing it. The police officer asked what you just said. She's hot, smoky, thinks photographer. Even the birthmark on my body knows for sure. He looked at me when I was washing. And then I swear at the evil pervert. A few minutes later, where did you get the clothes and wear them? I heard that curiously turned around. I saw her in her new outfit. Like a purple doll in front of him. Make the photographer flutter. Can take your eyes off. Suddenly, he touched her neck. I was surprised to see the necklace. Ask the photographer what this is. He laughed and said it was a gift. Shen Tu Bao Jelly. It can help the wearer increase the soul force of wearing it. Your cultivation speed will increase by 3 times. To make death wonder. When a gift of such value is given to her. He hurriedly refused to release his hand and said no. You can't take it back. But the photographer held on tight, and she laughed and said, No need. I have a lot of other things you can wear. You look good wearing it. Suddenly, he hurriedly withdrew his hand. A state of confusion. Let me hold it for you. You can come back at any time later. He turned his back and said yes. Let me go ahead and find my way out. At this point, I came to ask the photographer, why is it so good for me? He laughed and trembled. Then he turned to a loving smile. Because I like you. Hearing this startled, the bewildered man asked, Do you like me? We are still young. I don't know what will happen later. Maybe a few years later, you'll like someone else. More. Kwang Wei Kai City is always in love with menacing animals. We have to start with learning. Only willing to practice can go further on the path of martial arts. Let you be the golden love master. I will think. She was so confused when she finished. Harry laughed in his heart. I thought she was a kid joking. If so, wait a little longer. Then he used a surprised face. Are you serious? That's too good. I just need to try. Maybe next year we can reach the golden age. You can't swallow your words then. It was hard to hear the photographer speak. Only after 5, but achieved cultivation to the golden level. I admire that this speed of cultivation is too scary. Then he hurriedly refused. No, no. I mean, at that point, we'll figure it out. Stupid photographer who asked. Maybe the lady changed her mind. He used a depressed face to tell me to understand. You all speak the words of the family. Without keeping his word. Forget it as a tasteless word, so see the prince, and so on. It's hard to say who said that. A word has come out Nan trace code. If next year you can reach my golden level. A word is determined. The photographer happily replied to a predetermined word. Next 2 days, they went out to search for sugar. This place is built like a maze. I don't know where the exit is. He said, what kind of man is this emperor? It's possible to create such a large underground maze. Not to mention, there's a very bad one. I didn't see his remains either. But you're still looking for a way out. The scene above the sword. Now everyone's counting down to 27. It makes him think it's worth it. I can't find it forever. It's a homogeneous object. 7 lost 8 people. Especially Death Van. She is the owner's daughter. If anything happens to her, I can't take responsibility either. We have to find her quickly. On the side of the land. She's worried too. I haven't seen the photographer since. Next door resource. I told him not to look at that poor boy now. I should be going to Thailand soon. It's exasperating. Shut up. The ministry has not stopped talking. I'm just telling the truth. Now, I was afraid that even the body would be swallowed by the monster. My beauty hurts me. Years of soul cultivation, the power dissipated into a cloud of smoke. You deserve to be hurt 1,000 times. Thinking about it, he laughed. Lan feeble mad trick her eyes. This weapon made him atrophy. The match just turned away. Immediately swallow saliva cold test. Chan Lin looked at the aesthetic on the one hand. Should have been before. Don't let her go the same way. Or give some pseudo-amygdala silent protection. Probably not to this event. It is useless to stay here waiting. Let's go over to the school and dig a little. Then I went back to look for death and photography. Think so. He turned to order you to stay here. Wait for the rest of them. Follow me to the school. The officer took orders and immediately ran away. Career fool. He told me to stay here and wait for them. A moment later, the Chen Lin sword arrived. This is where the training ground is. Based on photographer, speculation of ancient Lan's wealth may be here. He told everyone to dig up a little. The subordinate spirits fluttered clearly. Quickly, each one a corner digging hard. Meanwhile, beneath the ground, the photographer is still looking for his way. Worried, he asked the photographer where the final exit was. I feel like we've been gone a long time. But he said seriously that there was no way out. If there is a way out, those people weren't locked up in the hall. To make death so bewildered. She asked bewildered, do we have to die here? Rejection is not really, because everyone in the hall came in from the outside. There must be a way in. Out. I just hope that Chen Lin will find us a way out. I think the exit is right there at that weird school. He laughed softly. They think they're going to Lam. Death is hard to understand. How do you know they'll find you there? Suddenly, there was a noise coming. The photographer said it started. Let's wave our hands and let's go over here. Make her full of confusion can only go follow him. Prediction of the photographer. That's amazing. Maybe he's right. Let me marry him in the future.